The Galactic Crisis. Commander Vela T. Larry stared at the holographic display as the last remnants of the Solarian battle fleet scattered into emergency hyperspace jumps. The massive Xenovor high ships pursued, their bioorganic weapons tearing through shields and hulls with terrifying efficiency. From her command chair on the flagship Eternal Dawn, she watched as centuries of Solarian military might crumble in mere hours. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before her. Strategic Officer Marin's tentacles worked frantically across his console. 78% of the fleet is confirmed destroyed. Another 15% severely damaged. Only the Eternal Dawn and 6 other capital ships remain combat effective. Casualties. Preliminary estimates at 11 million souls, Commander. Vela closed her 3 eyes momentarily, allowing herself one brief second of grief before returning to the crisis at hand. The Xenovor swarm had appeared from the void beyond the galactic rim 6 cycles ago, consuming everything in their path. Not just resources, entire species, cultures, civilizations. They didn't conquer, they devoured. The Xenovor advance will reach the core worlds in 14 days, said Science Director Nix, his crystalline form pulsing anxiously with blue light. Evacuation efforts can save perhaps 3 billion citizens at most. The Confederacy as we know it will cease to exist. What about our allies? Asked Lieutenant Commander Zora, Vela's second-in-command. The feline Restari's tail lashed back and forth with agitation. The Elloran Republic has sealed their borders. The Mechanus Collective is preparing to go dormant in deep space. The Aquari have retreated to their oceanic homeworld, replied Marin. We stand alone. The command deck fell silent. 12 species made up the Solarian Confederacy, spanning 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. For 10,000 years, they had maintained peace through their technological and cultural superiority. Now, in less than a standard year, the Xenovor had reduced them to refugees. There is one option we haven't considered, said Director Nix hesitantly. All eyes turned to the science officer. Earth, he said simply. The reaction was immediate. Gasps, mutters of disbelief, even a laugh of derision from one of the junior officers. You can't be serious, said Zora. The quarantine exists for a reason. Earth, home to the species known as humans. Discovered by Solarian scouts 3 centuries ago and immediately placed under the strictest quarantine protocols in Confederacy history, not out of fear of contamination or disease, but because of what the humans represented. I am entirely serious, replied Nix. The humans possess exactly what we need: unpredictability, aggression, and a talent for warfare that defies logical analysis. Vela stood from her command chair, silencing the growing argument with a raised hand. Explain. Nix's crystalline form shifted to project data streams into the air. The Xenovor are methodical. Their conquest follows predictable patterns that we now understand. The problem is that standard Confederacy tactics are equally predictable. We've optimized our military response over millennia. And humans? Asked Vela. Chaos, said Nix. Pure, wonderful chaos. Their military history is a study in contradictions. They're simultaneously brutal and compassionate, reckless and calculating. They've developed more ways to destroy themselves than any species we've encountered, yet they've survived every self-inflicted catastrophe. Vela studied the data. Earth was a Class 3 civilization. They'd achieved space travel but hadn't yet developed faster-than-light technology. The quarantine ensured they remained ignorant of galactic society, though occasional probe malfunctions had led to what the humans called UFO sightings. The containment protocols were established for good reason, said Zora. The psychological assessment of humans indicates dangerous levels of territorial aggression, tribalism, and resource consumption. If they ever achieved interstellar travel, they could pose a greater threat than the Xenovor. And yet, said Vela quietly, here we are, facing extinction. She made her decision. plot a course to the Sol system. Prepare a first contact package. Commander, protested Zora, this violates every protocol. The Confederacy is dying, Zora, Vela interrupted. Protocols won't save us now. As the Eternal Dawn and its escort ships limped toward the edge of Confederacy space, Vela retreated to her quarters. She accessed the classified human archives, studying their languages, cultures, and most importantly, their wars. What she found both terrified and fascinated her. Humans had spent most of their history fighting each other. They had weaponized everything from atoms to information. They had a concept alien to most Confederacy species: unconditional surrender. Not negotiated peace treaties or resource-sharing agreements, but total victory at any cost. 3 days later, they arrived at the quarantine boundary. Automated defense systems demanded authorization codes. This is Commander Vela T. Larry of the Solarian Confederacy flagship Eternal Dawn. Emergency Protocol Omega-9. Authorization: breaking glass. The ancient failsafe, to be used only when the survival of the Confederacy itself was at stake. After a tense moment, the defenses powered down. We're through, reported the navigation officer. Estimated arrival at Earth in 6 hours. As they approached the blue-green world, Vela ordered all weapons systems powered down. We come as supplicants, not conquerors, she reminded her crew. Earth's primitive detection systems soon noticed their arrival. Panicked communications flooded their receivers, military alerts, news broadcasts, social media eruptions. The planet's defense forces scrambled jets and activated missile systems, utterly ineffective against Confederacy technology, but Vela admired their immediate response. Broadcast on all frequencies, she ordered, visual and audio, translated into their dominant languages. She squared her shoulders and faced the communication array. People of Earth, I am Commander Vela T. Larry of the Solarian Confederacy. We come in peace and in desperate need. Your world stands on the edge of a war that spans the galaxy. We request an immediate conference with your world leaders. The fate of countless civilizations, including your own, hangs in the balance. She paused, then added, we have chosen to approach the region you call United Nations headquarters in New York City. We will arrive in 1 hour. Please clear the airspace and evacuate civilians from the surrounding area. We mean no harm, but we understand our arrival may cause fear. All we ask is that you listen to what we have to say. The response was chaotic. Some nations threatened immediate attack. Others declared states of emergency. A few, led by more forward-thinking leaders, called for calm and diplomatic engagement. As the Eternal Dawn descended through Earth's atmosphere, hovering above the United Nations building in New York, Vela prepared to meet the humans. She had studied their appearance, but seeing them in person, through the ship's observation systems, was different. So many variations in skin tone, size, and features, yet all fundamentally the same species. They're mobilizing military forces, reported Marin. Fighter aircraft, ground troops, naval vessels. Nothing that can harm us, but their response time is impressive. Prepare the shuttle, said Vela. Director Nix, Lieutenant Commander Zora, you're with me. Let's introduce ourselves to humanity. As their shuttle descended toward the UN Buildings Plaza, Vela saw thousands of humans gathering behind barricades. Some looked terrified, others fascinated. News drones hovered everywhere, broadcasting the arrival to billions worldwide. A small group of humans waited at the landing site. Military officials from various nations, UN representatives, and scientific advisors. Armed guards formed a perimeter, weapons trained on the shuttle. Ready? Asked Vela, looking at her companions. For the Confederacy, said Zora, still clearly uncomfortable with the plan. For our survival, added Nix. The shuttle doors opened, and Vela stepped out into Earth's sunlight, becoming the first Solarian to officially set foot on the quarantined world. The humans gasped at her blue-skinned, three-eyed appearance. Behind her, Nix's crystalline form and Zora's feline features prompted even more reaction. A human in a formal suit stepped forward. "I am Secretary General Maya Chen of the United Nations. On behalf of humanity, I'd welcome you to Earth." Vela bowed her head in the human gesture of respect she had studied. "Thank you, Secretary General. I wish our meeting came under better circumstances." "You said we face a galactic war," said another human, wearing a military uniform with American insignia. "Explain." "We need your help," said Vela simply. "My civilization is dying, and without intervention, yours will be next." The human leaders exchanged glances, and Vela could read their expressions even across the species barrier: disbelief, fear, and, just as she had hoped, the first sparks of determination. The human solution. General James Harrison of the United States Space Force stared at the holographic projection of the xenovore swarm's advance through the galaxy. Around the Situation Room table sat an unprecedented gathering. The highest military and scientific minds from Earth's major powers alongside the alien delegation from the Solarian Confederacy. "Let me get this straight," he said. "You've been watching us for centuries, decided we were too dangerous to join your galactic community, and now you want our help because we're, what exactly? Good at killing things." Commander Vela T. Larry didn't flinch at his bluntness. "Essentially, yes. The xenovore operate with a hive mind. Their tactics are extraordinarily effective, but fundamentally predictable. Conventional Confederacy warfare has failed against them because we've optimized our military doctrine over millennia. And humans are unpredictable," said General Lai Wei of the Chinese Strategic Command. "Precisely," said Director Nix, his crystalline form shifting to display combat simulations. "All ships report ready," said Lieutenant Commander Zora. Though still skeptical of humans, she had developed a grudging respect for their tactical innovations. "Execute Operation Nestburner," ordered Vela. The battle unfolded in ways no Confederacy tactician would have predicted. Human officers suggested rapid, seemingly random jump patterns that confused xenovore targeting systems. Earth-inspired electronic countermeasures created phantom fleet signatures that drew enemy fire away from actual ships. When the xenovore captured the bait vessels, Vela held her breath. For 10 excruciating minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, the massive hive ships began to move erratically. "The virus is working," exclaimed Director Nix. "Their quantum communication network is collapsing." Across the battlefield, xenovore vessels started firing on each other, their hive mind fractured into isolated, confused fragments. "All ships, commence Phase 3, ordered Vela. The combined fleet struck precisely at the exposed command nodes of the disoriented xenovore ships. Without their coordinated defense, the once invincible swarm began to crumble. 6 hours later, it was over. The Arcturus hive cluster lay in ruins, and the quantum virus had spread through the xenovore network, causing cascading failures throughout their fleet. In the aftermath, as damage reports came in, Vela found General Harrison in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars. "Your plan worked, General. The Confederacy owes humanity a debt we can never repay." Harrison shook his head. "This was just one battle. The war isn't over." "No," agreed Vela, "but for the first time since the xenovore appeared, we have hope." In the weeks that followed, the alliance deepened. Solarian technology flowed to Earth, accelerating human development by centuries. Human military advisors spread throughout the Confederacy, teaching their unconventional tactics to species that had forgotten the art of adaptive warfare. The quarantine that had isolated Earth was formally dissolved by unanimous vote of the Confederacy Council. Humanity would join Galactic Society not as junior members, but as full partners, their unique approach to conflict now recognized as an essential counterbalance to the Confederacy's rigid optimization. At the formal ceremony on the Confederacy capital world, Commander Vela, now Admiral Larry, stood beside Earth's representatives as they signed the alliance treaty. "We feared you for centuries," she admitted to General Harrison. "We saw only your capacity for violence, not understanding that same trait could be channeled toward protection rather than destruction. We're complicated that way," he replied with a smile. Hopefully, the galaxy is big enough for all our contradictions. As the treaty was sealed, a new era began. The Xenovore War would continue, with many battles yet to be fought. But with humanity unleashed upon the stars, the galaxy would never be the same. Across thousands of worlds, a new saying began to spread among Confederacy species when faced with insurmountable odds. Call the humans, they'll find a way.